Chapter 8, Lesson 2, Colonists Speak Out. What to know? Why were colonists angered by England's new colonial tax laws? Identify the laws that caused conflict with the colonies. Explain the importance of the Committees of Correspondence. And some words that you'll study on Quizlet. Budget, representation, treason, Committee of Correspondence, imperial policy, boycott, repeal, people, King George III, George Grenville, Patrick Henry, Samuel Adams, Crispus Attucks, and Paul Revere. Colonists speak out. You are there. A hush falls over the British Parliament as Benjamin Franklin rises to speak. He is about to speak out against the latest tax law passed by Parliament, and you have traveled with him to write about his speech and maybe even meet with King George III. Do you think it's right that the colonies should be protected by Britain and pay no part of the expense? Asks one member of Parliament sharply. That is not the case, Franklin says. The colonies raised, clothed, and paid, during the last year, near 25,000 men and spent many millions. Surely, you think, Parliament will take back the law. A meeting of the British Parliament. So a little look at primary sources. Stamp Act protest. Analyze drawings. This 1765 drawing shows a group of colonists in New Hampshire protesting the Stamp Act. 1. The coffin represents the wish to see the Stamp Act die. 2. The figure made of straw represents a stamp tax collector. And 3. This angry protester prepares to throw a rock at the straw figure. Why do you think the protesters placed the straw figure high on a pole? Okay, our first section, the Stamp Act. Please set up your Cornell notes with this on the left side. The Stamp Act. After the French and Indian War ended, the British Parliament reviewed its budget, or plan for spending money. British leader George Grenville said that Parliament needed more money to pay off the cost of the war. He argued that the American colonists should pay higher taxes. Parliament agreed and passed the Sugar Act in April 1764. Less than a year later, in March 1765, Parliament passed the Stamp Act. The Stamp Act placed a tax on paper documents in the colonies. Newspapers, legal documents, even playing cards had to have a special stamp on them to show that the tax had been paid. In the colonies, the reaction to the Stamp Act was quick and angry. Many colonists said that Parliament could not tax them because the colonists had no representation or voice in Parliament. In 1765, delegates from 9 colonies met in New York City in what became known as the Stamp Act Congress. James Otis of Massachusetts spoke out against the Stamp Act. The colonists began repeating the words, "No taxation without representation. No taxation without representation." That same year, Patrick Henry told his fellow members of the Virginia House of Burgesses that Parliament did not represent the colonies. Those who agreed with Parliament shouted, "Treason! Treason!" By accusing Henry of treason, they were saying he was guilty of working against his own government. Still, the House of Burgesses voted not to pay the new taxes set by Parliament. What caused Parliament to pass new taxes?